So today I want to talk about the importance of literally saying to ourselves out loud in our heads, I can do this. I am going to work my way out of this. And I know that that sounds really simplistic and it sounds really stupid, but I think oftentimes we have a belief ingrained within us that is not serving us, that is a negative belief, and we are just living out in accordance to that belief since it is ingrained within us. If we were over and over and over again saying, I cannot do this, I cannot do this, I cannot do this, we might get bored with that thought process and potentially engage some defense mechanisms to that thought process and think, well, maybe I can do this. But we've come to say it enough. I cannot do this. Or somebody told us we can't do this. Or somebody exemplified to us that we shouldn't be able to do this. That we took that in our mind, our body, and soul. It is ingrained within us. And so now we are just living in accordance with it. So I want to talk about the importance of actually saying the words, I can do this, I'm going to find a way out. Now, of course, this is going to be thought of and spoken of in the context of disordered eating, eating disorders, and binge eating, since that is my experience, and since people sharing their own stories and from listening to psychologists explain different strategies to work through this, I want to try and turn around and help other people as well. So of course, this is going to be thought of in the context of disordered eating, but I think if you bear with me, some of this might also resonate in regard to other addictions that you're working through, a bad mindset that you're working through, maybe a bad relationship, any struggle that you're working through. Some of this still might resonate. I want this to be a motivational monologue, and I want this to be a relatable motivational monologue, since I will share bits and pieces of my own story throughout this. Again, by the end of this, I hope you're closing your computer, turning your phone off. I hope I am walking out of here with that belief reinstated, re-inspired within me that I am going to continue to walk away. I'm going to continue to work my way out of my disordered eating behaviors, my binge eating disorder specifically. I am right there along with you. Maybe you just binged ate for the umpteenth time. Maybe you just did the thing that you're addicted to for the umpteenth time, and you're thinking, there is no way out. And maybe you're not consciously telling yourself those words, but again, back to my original point in the beginning, I think we only had to utter those words once for our mind to latch onto them, take them up here, send them to the rest of our body, our soul, whatever the thing is that allows us to make decisions, since a decision is ultimately an action, so it's us moving in the world, and it's us making a decision in our mind, so it's like everything together. It's not just a mental thing, it's like mind, body, and soul. So taking that negative phrase of I can't do this in our head, sending it into the rest of our body to the point where we are walking around, we are living this belief out and we don't even realize it. Or we forget and we have to step back and think, I am not obligated to believe that I can't do this. There is a way to shift my mindset. And I think to start getting rid of that belief, we need to give ourselves a fighting chance by literally telling ourselves the alternative. I can do this. there is a way out. Looking in the mirror saying, I can do this. There is a way out. And again, I know this sounds so silly and you might be thinking just because I say it to myself doesn't make it true. No. But in the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. I was at the gym the other day, and I don't know why I just thought of this scenario when I saw this one woman seemed kind of discouraged, or maybe she was just tired, and her really fit trainer was there kind of trying to motivate her. And I just thought of this scene that's not in a movie, but it's probably in some movie, of like this guy in the gym, and he's sitting there and he's doing great, and then all of a sudden this bodybuilder walks over next to him, and he gets discouraged. He's like, I just started my workout journey a week ago. And he's all discouraged, and his trainer comes over and he's like, okay, man, you gonna get up on the chin-up bar and do another set? And he's like, no. And the trainer's there to motivate you. So he's like, are you gonna get up there and do another set? He's like, okay, I'll get up there and do another set. And the trainer's like, because that's not good enough. No. Are you going to get up there and do another set? And now the guy's like, yeah, I'm going to get up there and do another set. He spoke himself into that belief. He said it to the point where his mind, his body, and his soul reoriented. He changed, as the Christian would say, his heart posture to the point where he then got up on that chin-up bar and did another set. He said it until it was ingrained within him, until he had the physical energy, therefore, to turn and get up on the bar. It became a belief within him by starting with saying the words, I'm going to get up on that chin-up bar and I am going to do another set. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. And I might be using that a little bit out of context, but you know what? I think it applies here too. I was at my lowest point this past year, and I don't mean this as like a woe is me, I was at my lowest point. We all have our lowest points in life. It's just an axiom of life. We all go through struggles, and I would probably say that my lowest point was this past year. And I remember I had initially lost a ton of weight. I wasn't eating that much. I was working out a ton. I was studying for something. So I was just so locked in and focused, and not eating a lot, working out a lot, and feeling really skinny is addicting. And I lost a ton of weight. And then eventually all of those behaviors caught up with me. And I was just really hungry and really exhausted. And I binged ate one day, and it cycled into several months of struggling through this problem. And it had come to a point where post-binge, I would be so incredibly enraged and hysterical to the point where I broke an object. And I remember one time coming up the stairs and like looking at myself in the mirror and just bawling my eyes out and feeling like I was disassociating from my body a little bit, because I just couldn't believe that this is what I had come to, that I was still working through this problem, that I, Teresa Fitzgibbon, could not control myself. And I, Teresa Fitzgibbon, was so incredibly rageful and angry post-binge that I couldn't even just move on. I just so badly wanted to be out of my body. I wanted to be as far away from that puffy, depressed state where goodness feels like it's a million miles away. I just couldn't believe it. So when I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, whoa, this is who you are? Like, hysterical tears, wanting to disassociate. But anyway, I broke an object, and really pathetic, really embarrassing. And another time I was so hysterical that my parents were out doing something. I think they were on like a day trip, and they turned around and came home because they didn't trust me being home alone. and they had to go out of town again. So the plan was, again, I'm 24 and I needed a babysitter. The plan was for me to go to my godmother's, but I kind of knew that being away from my own bed and out of my own routine was going to make things worse, and it did. And so I was over there and I just kind of had this feeling, if you couldn't tell, I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peterson, but I just had this feeling of, if you're going to fix this, you got to go into the belly of the beast and work your way out. You got to go into the belly of the beast and shine a light. Devil snare hates sunlight. That's not a Jordan Peterson line. If you don't know what that line is, then my heart is broken. But I had to go into this dark place. I needed to return home and work my way out of this. I needed to start taking control. I needed to start believing. God was not going to descend down from the skies and fix this. He could, but for whatever reason, he wasn't going to. So I knew I'm going back there and I'm going to work my way up. And I knew it was probably going to get better or worse before it got better. So better hang on like hell. And it did. It got worse. And post several binge, I can't quite remember. It's a little bit of a blur, but I remember standing over the sink one time washing the dishes because that's about all the energy or all the motivation that I had to do anything. That was about it, washing the dishes. And I remember standing there and having no modicum, no ounce of goodness within me, no motivation whatsoever. No hope that the future was going to get better. And I know that they say you can't rely on a feeling of motivation to be motivated. You have to be disciplined. Yes, I understand that, and I believe that to be true. But in the past, I had always had some modicum of goodness, some modicum of motivation, some modicum of all right, this is really bad, but you know what? We still have the opportunity to change things. I just so badly believed that I couldn't change. And so I was bare bones at this low spiritual, psychological state of just having to reckon with myself. What is good and what is bad? Because right now, it seems like I will never get out of this. It seems like I'm completely out of control and I will never be able to control myself. So why not choose bad? Why not continue cycling down this self-sabotaging spiral? Why choose good? It's not working. I can't control myself even when I try, it seems like. So why choose good? As opposed to that feeling, that knowing within me, relying on that to choose good, I had to use my logic and reason and say, Teresa, you choose good because good is good. Good is good. And you don't even need the definition of good to know that it's good, and that's why you choose good. You don't need the definition of bad to know that you don't choose bad. You know that bad is bad. That's why we choose good. And so you have to choose good. So I logicked my way there. I spoke those words in my head to that way there. I'm doing this because I'm thinking this side is good, this side is bad. I logicked myself there. I used words to get myself there. And from there, I started to say the words over and over again to get my body there, to get my soul there, to get my mind there, to get the belief there so I could start living out in accordance with that. I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you are beautiful and you're going to get through this. You know that scene in Lord of the Rings where it's at the end of the Battle of Helm's Deep and Gandalf is coming down the mountain at the end of the battle. the sun is rising in the east or the west. I can't remember the line, but the sun is rising at the end of the 10th day. Look to the west and you will see. I totally got the line wrong, but he's at the top of the mountain. He's got the Rohirrims with him, and he starts charging down with them on both sides of him, and he's got his staff in hand, and his staff shines a light as he's riding his horse downward, and the light shines and hits the eyes of one of the orcs, and the orc goes, "Ugh!" It was piercing. Saying that to myself, you are beautiful, you are going to get through this. It was piercing. It was like, oh, like, is that true? That's such a stark contrast to everything that I've been thinking. The light is blinding. If you've seen Lord of the Rings, you know that it doesn't just take Gandalf and one line of Rohirrims. They keep coming. There's more and more just coming over that mountain, and the orcs don't flee at first sight. They flee when they realize they keep coming. So I kept saying it. You are beautiful. You're going to get through this. You are beautiful. You are going to get through this. You are beautiful. You're going to get through this. And then I turned some music on and I started dancing. And again, if you've ever been post-binge, you know that you're all puffy and disgusting, and it feels like you gained weight in an instant, in 2 hours. That's what it feels like. And moving around, doing anything that is good for you feels so gross, since you can feel that puffiness moving around, and you're just realizing now what it is that you have to reckon with tomorrow. And that's the idea that you're in essentially a worse place than you were that you started before binge. And you have to reckon with the fact that it's going to take maybe a week to get back to a better physiological state. And once you start moving around, you realize it's going to take another week, and I hope to God I don't binge again. And so it kind of feels gross. It's like taking your hand out of hot water and putting it into cold water. It's piercing. The light is piercing. Doing what is good for us is piercing. But saying it over and over again started to break up that darkness within me to the point where I started to believe it. In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. I mean, it started by me logicking, reasoning my way to goodness, saying my way to goodness, feeling my way by dancing and singing my way to goodness. In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. So say the words. I can do this. I'm going to get out of this.